Hello, SolarLune here, and here is another pixel art tutorial. This one will be about outlines. Outlines are very useful. They're very integral part of pixel art. They can be used to help make sprites stand out from the background and to help make their animations and movements more clear, especially on light backgrounds if you have a dark outline, or vice versa. Dark backgrounds if you have a light outline, or if you just use light colors on your sprite. So that's really how they're useful, is when you have a light colored sprite, like this character that I have here. We give him a dark outline, then he stands out both in light and dark areas. So it's very useful for pixel art in general. If you don't use it though, you might have a harder time about making a very discernible, easy to see, sprite, or making the objects and characters stand out from the game. But you can also have some very interesting looking games if you don't have outlines, or if you just choose not to use them in general. So there's different ways to go about it. It's up to you. Obviously as the artist to choose. So that's what you'll decide. But for now, let's just say we're trying to make an outline. So this character here, he's rather small, so the outline technique might be a little wasted or a little iffy on him. But for the most part, the principles should still hold true. So we'll examine this. Okay, so one basic way to do an outline is just to surround the character in black. It's pretty simple, pretty easy, and we'll just just surround him in black. It's not hard to do. There we go. So our character's outlined. Our character's shoes are black, but even if they weren't black, if they were some other color, I would still not surround the bottom pixels, because generally you don't need to do those bottom pixels, and generally your sprite will be on sitting on the bottom of the grid of the sprite cell that he's in if you're using sprite cells. So in general, I wouldn't really pixel that part in, and generally your eye will do that for you, or he'll just be sitting on the ground, so you don't really need to complete that line at the bottom. Okay, so this isn't bad. Some people do like this and really make the outlines sharp. That's a style, but it's not a favorite style of mine. It seems unnecessary. I think it's better to use that for weighting areas. What I mean by weighting areas is, for example, say you have a character who has a fist out or something like that, like this. Now, if this is supposed to be a fist, then we can do different things with this hand to kind of make it look like a fist. An example would be, let's say that his fist is supposed to be kind of knuckled up. We'll see by where we place a pixel, we can change the kind of the shape of the fist. It's kind of more noticeable on, for example, top-down sprites, or sprites with more large proportions. On this, it's a little difficult to make an example of it, but basically, by using that extra pixel, we can kind of make the viewer infer a shape of what we're trying to draw. So, for example, by adding that pixel, we kind of make it look like it's sharper and heavier in that area. So, for example, doesn't it look like his hand is kind of facing down when this pixel is there, and when it's here, it kind of feels like his hand or fist is facing upward, like he's like his palm is upwards in a way. So you can kind of experiment around with placing pixels, especially with small sprites, so you can kind of get the shape and feel you're going for. Okay, so anyway, back to our pixel art here. So that was one way to do a pixel art. That's one way to do an outline, is just to kind of blob it around. Generally, it's better to, like I mentioned with weighting, kind of place the weights where you need them to be, to really complete the shape correctly. So, for example, we can place two kind of sharp pixels here to make his bandana ties look really sharp, like they're actually pieces of cloth that are pointed out, rather than just being kind of blobby, pixels on the end of his bandana. We can make it really sharp and pointed. Same thing with the hoodie. If we chose to do that, we could kind of make it look like his hoodie is larger than it is by making an extra pixel here, which kind of makes it feel like the hoodie is larger, like it kind of has a more three-dimensional shape than it might have. Okay, so you can also go with colored outlines. So for example, you might go with a red colored outline. And so just following the same thing, same process as before. In case you are using GIMP, you can press Shift and click to use a line tool from the last place you clicked to the next to your mouse cursor. So that's useful for, you know, doing a nice little line of pixels. So as you can see, for example, that's going back to the weighting idea. By putting a little pixel here, we kind of make his hand feel heavier, like it's blockier. It's not really necessary because, you know, we're using a lot of colors that are different, so we don't really need to use outlines, for example, to segment things. Some people, or sometimes you can use outlines to segment a character off like that, but generally, you know, at small sprites, you need to use as little, you know, the smallest pixels to convey the most detail. So you don't want to, you know, use up, you know, a third of your canvas or a large percent of your canvas. This obviously isn't a third, but use up a large percent of your canvas on pixels, on just, you know, kind of trying to separate out his arm from his body. Just use colors to kind of differentiate. Okay, so this method of pixeling in an outline, it's good. There's nothing really wrong with it. It could be a little better, but it's not too bad. But I think that the best, well, one of the things that you'll kind of run into is, for example, areas where his colors are darker than the outline. His shoes here are black, and the outline is kind of a dark red. They're lighter than the black of his shoes, though. So it kind of doesn't really work that well. You kind of want the outline to be darker than all the other colors on the sprite, generally. At least, you know, that's in my experience and in my, you know, what the way I feel. I think that most times you want the colors of the outline to be darker than the colors that the outline is surrounding. So, for example, his shoes here are kind of light, or I'm sorry, kind of dark, and so the outline doesn't really work well with them. So, for example, you can make the shoes lighter, or you might want to use the outline color as the shoe color. You know, so there's different ways to do it, but just be aware that, you know, you might end up with colors that are darker inside than the outline color. And so you might want to tweak things if that gets to be the case and it doesn't look good. So just experiment, you know, try different things to make it look the way you want. Now, the best kind of way that I like to outline, I'm trying to do more often myself, is basically trying to use hue shifting along with the outline, shifting the outline color. It's a really nice effect that I like. For example, let's shade this guy. So we'll go with a darker value and push the hue over toward purple. So it's a dark red, purple kind of color. And we'll do it again. This time going to 40 and pushing the hue down a little more. Okay. Now the good thing about outlining with hue shifting, let's go with a value of 20 and a dark purple for the outline color. There we go. The good thing about this is that you can use the skin color, different, you know, colors, for the outline, like that, if you wanted to. And you want always want your outline to be dark, you know, fairly dark, but you can kind of experiment around and see which colors you want to use. A lot of pixel art is just conserving colors, cutting down colors. I'm using a lot of colors here, even though I'm reusing them. Like this dark purple is also this outline color, but it's still, you know, I could use, for example, one less shade. It's kind of, you know, kind of a gradient going on, and I kind of want just, you know, that's another part of pixel art, is just to conserve colors, try to use colors wisely. So anyway, this blue that we have here, let's get a nice, you know, again, hue shift it by a little bit. And you notice that this blue is rather dark compared to this red, even though they're both value 60. So you want to make sure that even if it quote unquote makes sense, you still want it to you know, be visually logical rather than being logical mathematically. So, you know, the red has more of a linear curve, or looks linear, looks smooth, but the blue seems to get dark really quickly. So you might want to, you know, be aware and just be be careful with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and shift this down again to more purple color, and then go with the value of 20 and a nice purple there. Okay, let's use the dark blue for the color of the bandana in the light areas. There we go. Okay, so yeah, a lot of it is just, you know, using colors wisely. Let's go with that one. Yeah, using colors wisely and just kind of you know, seeing how things turn out. Okay, so that's basically the thing of pretty much all that I had to say about tutorial about outlines. Just, you know, be aware of your color usage, try different things, experiment, and you know, hue shifting along with outlines, you know, keeping the colors dark. That's all really useful methods for keeping your colors consistent and for making your colors pop and look interesting. Other than that, it's pretty much up to you. You can you know, kind of color things in the way you want and try different things to make them, you know, make them pop and really look interesting. All right, well, that's it for my tutorial. I've been SolarLune, and hopefully you found this set of tutorials on pixel art particularly useful. And if not, please feel free to leave constructive criticism in the comments section. I haven't been making these tutorials very often recently, but hopefully I'll be able to make more in the future. Thank you very much for watching and subscribing. I noticed I had like over 1,200 subscribers, so thanks a lot, a huge amount for that, because I probably wouldn't be making them if I wouldn't be making them if no one watched them. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, so this has been pixel art outlines. That's what this has been. Thank you very much.